All right, this is Legally Blind Journal number 56. Basically, I haven't had any change in my reading acuity, basically how far I can read in the last week, which is good. The migraines have been a monster still. Working on trying to manage those through breaks the best I can. Really, nothing's changed on that yet. The bottom line is if I'm trying to read or if I'm in a store trying to focus on what's on the shelves, things like that, it triggers these massive migraines. If I'm not doing any of that type of stuff, then, you know, I can get through the day without the migraine. Now, well, not probably. I have a headache most days, but not to that level. It's a totally different thing. So, I'm going to keep working on what I've been working on, trying to take my breaks at work, trying not to read crap on the farm, because that really does minimize the problems. I've been running goat fence, and other than my normal low level headache that I get, really haven't had anything much doing that kind of work. As long as I'm not reading, measurements and tape measures and things like that. So for the next week, I'm going to do my best to take all the breaks I'm supposed to take, minimize the eye strain and the reading time as much as I possibly can, and then, hug a goat, pet a chicken as much as I can to, keep the stress down. I do think that the stress makes a difference in all of this. I really do. The eye strain and the stress. And if anybody out there is going through it, if you got, better suggestions, by all means, put them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I've tried, Excedrin migraine, way overdosing on the amount that they say to do on a daily basis. It barely touches it once I trigger it. So the biggest thing that I can do to help it is just not trigger it. Where I'm at is like the counselors have given me essentially 2 months to see where things land, and then they want me to, well, not want me, they're going to demand that I do CAT scans and MRIs, but to make sure I don't have like a tumor or something crazy. But at the end of the day, I don't, because as long as I don't try and read stuff, I don't go into a store where it's almost impossible to stop from reading stuff. It doesn't get triggered to that level by any means. I might have a light headache but it's totally manageable. But when I'm trying to work and read, or if I try and read tape measures because I'm building something on the farm that actually I have to read that, then yeah, it triggers. So I don't think it's got anything to do with the other stuff. And I've had the CAT scans and all that crap earlier on this, and nothing. There was nothing there. So I get it. The state's got to be careful and make sure they don't get sued and all that crap. I understand. That said, where I'm at is trying my best not to use my vision for heavy, fine focus stuff. If I don't try and focus in on something, it doesn't trigger the migraine, generally speaking. And even that's not I guess, a guarantee, but it's mostly what it is. So, my head's hurting today, but quite frankly, I was trying to staple fencing, and you got to look real close, and you got to try and see that, and it's tough. So that part helps to trigger it, obviously, and then a lot of stress over trying to sell a house and stuff like that. That doesn't help either. So, at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing I would say is if you're dealing with vision loss and whatnot, take a look at your life, figure out what's causing potentially stress, try and reduce that. What causes you on a daily basis to try and focus on finer detail, try and reduce that. That does seem to help me. I don't know if it'll help you. If you've got a better idea, definitely drop it in the comments below. Happy to hear any ideas. And once you have a migraine, if you're dealing with vision loss, once you have a migraine flourishing, yeah, go hug a goat or a chicken. If you haven't looked at my channel, you'll see we have a farm, and it helps. It doesn't take it away by any means, but it reduces the stress and strain. And you ain't trying to read a goat, you ain't trying to read a chicken, so it actually does help. So that's kind of where I'm at this week. Really, not much has changed from last week. My visual acuity is around 9 or 10 inches for reading ish, and that's an ish. And then my perception, it's about the same. I do check that every single Sunday religiously. So I'm thankful that it hasn't changed a lot. If I could just get rid of these damn migraines, then that'd be great. So I'm working on taking steps in my life to reduce the eye strain as well as the stress, to try and get these migraines under control. That's probably my biggest problem right now. And then the other stuff is typical. I get frustrated when I have to rely on others to drive somewhere, or something in the past I would have jumped in the car and took care of or whatever, and I can't do it. That's hard, but whatever, you got to get over that. So kind of pray to Jesus for a little bit of grace and give grace to others and keep rolling forward. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. If you got any ideas, like I said, that you use to minimize the migraines, I'm all ears. But I'm going to keep trying to do this part and see if we can get them down back under control. So, all right. I know this is a shorter one, but it's really not much else has changed. That's just what I'm going to try and work on. Y'all be good out there. Try and stay positive. That's the biggest thing. If you're not being positive, you're hurting yourself. Y'all be good. Peace.